Hey guys, it's Drew with Living History Comes Alive. You know, I am betting that video from yesterday, 10 unknown fake facts about the Civil War, really threw some people off because a lot of people didn't read the title on the title page on the thumbnail and they flipped out. They're like, Drew, what is wrong with you? You know this is not real history. This right here is nothing but rhetoric. And I had to finally sit down and tell them, read the title. I wanted to show everybody that the war wasn't so clean cut. You had Southern sympathizers that wanted to make the North look bad in any way, shape, or form that they could. And that really messed with some folks. If they didn't catch that title page, if they didn't catch that thumbnail, they were lost and they couldn't believe that I was printing history like that. Because you know, I do not go for the no fluff, no filler, no BS. I don't go for that. Today, we're going to take a look at a totally different story, a very true story that happened after the Civil War, but involved a fella who had fought. Imagine what it would be like to be at a reunion where so many of your friends never walked away. Well, that happened to a gentleman after the Civil War ended, when he was at a reunion at Gettysburg, and while he was walking around, looked down, and the first words out of his mouth, "Am I dead?" As he stood there and looked over his own gravestone in a row with his entire unit. How'd this happen? Today we're going to find out. So sit back and check out as he looked over his grave. Am I dead? Right here on Living History Comes Alive. Stay tuned.
Am I dead? When the Confederate Army marched north in 1863, Union soldiers from Pennsylvania felt especially anxious to fight and defend their home soil against the invaders. Many regiments petitioned authorities demanding they be allowed to defend their firesides. One regiment eager for a fight was the 91st Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry. Private Stephen Kelly of the 91st Regiment packed his knapsack, shouldered his musket, and joined the regiment for the long, dusty march in search of the enemy. Spirits soared with patriotic songs filling the air when the sons of Pennsylvania crossed over into their native state. The sound of the guns echoing across the farmlands grew louder with every step. Nearing the hamlet of Gettysburg, the troops hurried to the outskirts of the small town where the opposing armies already started banging away at each other in the epic battle. Arriving on the morning of July 2nd, the regiment immediately formed in line of battle on a little rocky hill overlooking Plum Run Valley. Some of the fiercest fighting of the day took place on the boulder-strewn mound aptly named Little Round Top. The 91st lost 4 men killed that afternoon, including the death of their brigade commander, General Stephen Weed. Private Kelly was listed among the 17 wounded from his regiment. 3 days later, the regimental surgeon reported Kelly had died from his wounds. After the battle, Union burial details quickly buried all the dead in shallow pits on the battlefield in order to avert the offensive sight and stench of the decomposing bodies. The countryside surrounding the town contained countless trenches gouged in the fields and orchards for the disposal of nearly 7,500 rotting bodies. The total number of dead came close to an even split between the Union troops and the Confederate soldiers who died in the battle. Sometime after the battle, it was decided to reinter the Union dead into a new national cemetery. Local lawyer David Willis was charged with the monumental task of digging up the 3,500 Union soldiers to be moved to the cemetery. Willis, in turn, hired Samuel Weaver to supervise the operation. Thanks to the meticulous Weaver, who personally searched the bodies for any sign of identification, only 1,000 soldiers rest under a stone marked unknown, a remarkable achievement considering the condition of the bodies. Soldiers' remains, all hailing from the same state, had their own section to make it easier for family and friends to locate the graves of loved ones. President Abraham Lincoln gave his celebrated Gettysburg Address on November 19, 1863, while dedicating the Soldiers' National Cemetery. The job of reinterring the soldiers was only half completed upon Lincoln's visit. In the fall of 1863, Private Kelly's stone marker was laid along with all the other Pennsylvania boys in the Keystone States section of the new cemetery. All 3,500 Union soldiers who lost their lives in the struggle at Gettysburg rest in peace beneath the hallowed grounds of the well-manicured cemetery. Confederates remained buried on the battlefield until 1872, when Weaver's son Rufus handled the business of sending the bodies back for burial in Southern soil. The rebel dead now rest in Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia, where a large monument honors many of their gallant soldiers who gave all for a cause. While visiting the battlefield, most likely for a reunion, a soldier of the 91st Pennsylvania Regiment went wandering amongst the soldiers buried in the Pennsylvania portion of the cemetery. He suddenly stopped at the grave of one of the boys in his 91st Pennsylvania Regiment. What he saw shocked him beyond belief. For a moment, he froze while gazing down at the stone, bewildered and confused. The startled veteran had known of the men of his unit that lost their lives that day. Surely this soldier wasn't one of them. To be sure, he fell to his knees and brushed away any debris for a closer examination. His cleanup revealed a fresh, chiseled stone with the clear engraving of Private Stephen Kelly, Company E, 91st Pennsylvania Regiment. Standing over the stone and looking down at his own grave was none other than Stephen Kelly of Company E, 91st Pennsylvania Regiment. The surprised old veteran of the 91st Regiment was very much alive and well. A quick glance around the cemetery grounds for a practical joker offered nothing. Old Sam Weaver did a splendid job reinterring the bodies, but a few mistakes had to be expected. Not being a superstitious fellow, Kelly eventually joked about the mishap with friends and family. On another Memorial Day trip to Gettysburg, he even laid flowers at his own grave to honor the poor, unidentified soul who occupies his place in the National Cemetery. Over time, Private Kelly understood the blunder. The error now made sense. Due to illness, Kelly spent early July of 1863 in a hospital in Baltimore. He missed the battle and never set foot in Gettysburg in July. Seems somebody in the regiment stole his knapsack, stenciled with Kelly's name, when he took ill. The unscrupulous soldier who swiped his pack was shot on Little Round Top, and it was he who died a few days later, not Kelly. Mr. Weaver and hospital personnel naturally connected the soldier to the knapsack. The gravestone numbered A88 in the Pennsylvania sector of the cemetery is no longer marked with Stephen Kelly's name. Seeking accuracy, Kelly saw to it to have his name ground off the stone and replaced with the familiar unknown. The identity of the soldier who occupies the pine box below the marker is anybody's guess. But it's surely the despicable thief who stole Kelly's knapsack.
Welcome back. Could you imagine what it was like for that man? Years after the Battle of Gettysburg, years after the Civil War ended, to go back to that cemetery, to that town where so many men gave their lives in a battle where there was truly no victor. And to walk out on that cemetery and be walking along that row of graves, his unit, his friends, and look down and see his name on that spot. That's just one more mystery behind the Civil War. Why did things happen? He was able to solve his mystery, but there's a lot of unsolved mysteries out there. And as many of them as I can find, I'm going to tell you guys about. It's our history. It deserves to be told. It's what I do. But I'd like to thank you guys for joining me today. And as always, I'd like to ask you to please like, share, subscribe, comment. Definitely, definitely. Ding that little bell. That way you'll know when new videos come up, and we prove time and time again. You never know what we're going to talk about. So until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you. God love you. We do. We'll see you on down the road.